Even as Kenyans woke up to the very terrible news that the cost of living is bound to rise even higher, more taxes, proposals to increase VAT to 18%, and other bad news that was missing from the headline, that the government of William Ruto has once again borrowed a huge loan, some of it on 17% interest. Even as all this was unfolding, and even as people were waiting for Raila Odinga's much expected, anticipated presser that was supposed to unleash a big announcement, maybe a return to maandamano, done differently this time, there was yet some other news that came in from Australia about a Kenyan, a man called Quincy Timberlake, the husband of Esther Runga, former KTN news anchor, pleaded in an Australian court guilty for manslaughter. And of course the victim was his very own 3-year-old son. Welcome to my information-packed show today, where we make a prediction based on evidence that something very terrible is about to happen in our politics. Karibu sana. Bad people have bad ways of solving problems, and good people have good ways of solving problems. Really, in short, the way an individual solves a problem describes to you, tells you conclusively what their character is, what sort of a person they are. Now, in my last video, I talked about how you can analyze politics by linking events. And today, I want to move to another technique that I've used over the years very effectively. And it simply has to do with how people solve their problems. You will never know the true character of a person until they are faced with problems. If they have no problems, forget it. What you're saying is not their character. That is the truth about this life. And therefore it is very easy to analyze Kenyan politics today and even to predict what is going to happen going forward by analyzing how a man called William Samoei Ruto and another man called Raila Amolo Odinga solve problems. Because they solve problems in very different ways. Very different. The difference is like light and darkness. That's the truth. One individual is a quick fix, shortcuts, solution, problem solver. The other person is a stand the test of time, problem solver. And you know, I keep on talking about links. The truth is, everything is linked. And therefore, before we go deep into the politics of Ruto and Raila to understand what is unfolding and the terrible things that are about to unfold shortly, let us take a quick look at how our fellow Kenyans have solved their problems and the consequences. This is very important so that we understand every decision we take in this life has consequences. And the sad thing is that if you're a leader, what you do has consequences on millions. If you're not an ordinary Kenyan, it will still have consequences on hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe 10,000s of people. That is the truth, believe it or not. Now, the latest news coming out of Australia, when we're all concentrating on our politics here, is that a very well-known Kenyan man called Quincy Timberlake, the husband of former TV anchor Esther Runga, yesterday pleaded guilty in a court of law in that country for manslaughter. And of course the victim was his own son, his own 3-year-old son. Now, the story of Esther Runga and Quincy Timberlake has captivated Kenyans for years, ever since it started. But of course, this whole drama started when somebody wanted to solve a problem, their problem. And it is a problem many Kenyans face even now. You don't have money. What do you do? Now, according to Joseph Hellon, a pastor, indeed the pastor of Quincy Timberlake, and Esther Runga, the former member of his church, Quincy Timberlake, by the way, whose real name is Sami Joginder Singh Wambita, from Homa Bay County in Kenya. According to his pastor Hellon, Timberlake decided to solve his money problems by getting hooked up with Esther Runga, which should not shock anybody. There are many marriages which still exist today which started off like that. That's not new. But what shocked and sickened me is the compelling allegation by Hellon that Bwana Timberlake used witchcraft. Now I have to be very careful to stay objective on this subject, because very recently, after my late wife passed on, there is a woman who came into my life precisely in that way, using witchcraft. And by the time I recovered, there was already a lot of damage which had been done. But I thank Almighty God that I recovered. I got out of it. There are many people who never get out of it. And you know me, if you're regular on this channel, I'm a journalist. I research. I don't say things without conclusive evidence. And when I don't have it, I will tell you it is a theory. That was not a theory what happened to me. Okay? My quick advice to fellow men who may fall into this trap tomorrow: don't be too trusting to other humans. It is deadly. Please be very careful about the motives. Anyway, back to our topic of the day. According to Joseph Hellon, Quincy Timberlake, by profession, was a con artist. And I don't know if you know this, most con artists in this part of the world use witchcraft. But for our purposes today, he solved this problem. Okay? But what are the consequences on the parents of Esther Runga, on her close friends, on her relatives, and even now on her 3-year-old son? What are the consequences of that shortcut quick fix solution that somebody came up with years ago, and the repercussions, results, consequences are still being felt today and going forward? Think about it. By the way, in my intensive research on this subject that has taken me over 9 months, I discovered something else shell-shocking. Although I realized very late it is not material for this channel, most of you would not be interested. I realized that over 95% of Kenyans today, especially younger women, married to much older men, used witchcraft. Walienda kuona babu. Oh God Almighty, have mercy. I can only assume, because I stopped that research, I can only assume that the same applies to many older, very rich Kenyans today who are seemingly happily married to younger women. Wamewekwa kwa chupa. On to another Kenyan problem solver. After about 2 weeks of searching everywhere, in morgues, hospitals, etc., etc., Jane Mwende, a hairdresser in Mlolongo, on the outskirts of Nairobi, was finally found. Unfortunately, not alive, dead at the bottom of a pit latrine in the same Mlolongo area. This case has dominated Kenyan social media in recent days, not surprisingly. And the theory police are working on right now is based on the report that the late Mwende was dating a married man. And police already have at least 2 suspects in custody. A third one has fled to Mombasa. which may suggest that investigators are on the right track. Because why would you run away if there's no problem? You know, this thing of getting involved with people who are married is more deadly than most of us realize. Because in some instances, and it seems that this is what happened in the very unfortunate case of Jane Mwende, is that injured parties may decide to make a decision while they are still in an emotional state. That is the deadly emotion called jealousy, which has been responsible for over 90% of the murders. Since Cain murdered his brother Abel in the Bible, that emotion is so deadly and puts a person's frame of mind somewhere where you do not want it to be. Even that individual would not want it to be there. An expert was telling me yesterday that in these crimes of passion, akili inarudia mtu. A person recovers and realizes what they have done when the evil, gruesome, brutal deed is already done. That's when they come back to themselves. You're a wife, you love your husband, and then you find out that there is this other woman, and then you lose it. You decide, no, she does not deserve to be on this planet. Ntadil nae. It happens all the time. Even men do it all the time. There's so many cases of love triangles in Kenya today. And of course it has been made worse by the very harsh economic times we are passing through. We come back again to problem solving. How people solve their problems. Most of us prefer shortcuts, quick fixes. And now back to politics. Yesterday the big news was how the government is planning to impose even more taxes, like increased VAT to 18%, etc., etc. Raid people's payslips even more, despite the ongoing complaints. That was the big news. And it is now very clear that the William Ruto administration is going to fix Kenyans' problems by taxing and borrowing. More taxes, more borrowing. That is the quick fix, shortcut, solution, according to Kenya Kwanza, to our problems in the motherland. And of course, that is deadly. We have already seen the consequences. We have already seen the damage done on the nation called Kenya. If you have not yet seen it, don't worry. It will very soon be very clear to you. So clear that you will not be able to miss it, in case you have missed it so far. And the problem with Raila Odinga, according to most Azimio supporters, is that he's too slow. He doesn't want quick fixes. He doesn't want shortcuts. He is just too slow. And most Azimio supporters are angry. The truth is, if William Ruto was in Raila Odinga's shoes today, tungekuwa tumemalizana na hii problem zamani, months ago. But I need to quickly ask, at what cost? With what consequences? Affecting how many Kenyans? How many Kenyans losing their lives? Etc., etc. I'm sure you understand me totally when I put it in that way. Raila's fight for a better Kenya has taken a long time. He has spent many precious years of his life either in exile or in jail, being tortured. It was slow. Real lasting change is a very slow process. Genuine change that will stand the test of time is a slow process. You can't run away from that. And as I make this video, most of us are waiting for Raila Odinga's presser. He's supposed to make a very major announcement. He was supposed to make it yesterday. It didn't happen. Hopefully it will be made today or maybe even tomorrow. But you can be sure, whatever that big announcement is, it will not be a quick fix, shortcut, solution. For example, back to maandamano, it's going to be a long, tedious, slow process before we finally see change the change a vast majority of Kenyans want, before we see justice over who really won our presidential elections last August. But my hope and prayer is that after taking in my video today, you will have changed your position and you will run away as fast as you can from quick fix solutions, from instant solutions, from short-term solutions that can never stand the test of time. Please grab the opportunity and take advantage of my latest special offer on my weekly intelligence briefings. Only $8.95 for 7 months membership, and you'll get all the past weekly intelligence briefings with a lot of sensitive information that will help you understand our politics much better and even predict the future easily. I'd also like to appeal once again to all those gallant, noble, patriotic Kenyans out there who love their motherland to support our young people, to sponsor young people into membership into the weekly intelligence briefings. Okay? You can see details on your screens right now. Thank you so much in advance for joining me in this fight for a better Kenya with your finances, with your very hard-earned finances. What we're doing is not a shortcut. It's not a quick fix. But we are sure it'll stand the test of time. Until next time, this is Kshs. Kumekucha.